straight into it. If you're watching tutorial 9, I've just shown you how to sort of lay in a grid, and just to give everyone some context, what we've got here is a radiance model. Come on, it's not that difficult. All I said was show the model you'd already shown. I'm going to pause it while it has a load. Right, for some reason Dynamo needed like best part of a minute just to display a box. But yeah, there you go. So we'd sort of pre-made this model. I'm sure I've said it before. This model keeps changing color because it's just sort of set to a, it's like set on a random sort of color function. And as I said before, for some reason they're all totally random colors and they all just keep coming out almost the same. Oh, we got a blue there. Okay. Okay, and so anyway, that was just some context here. We just added a grid. I'm going to set this grid points to just like 1 meter spacing, just so the calc runs a little bit quicker. I'm going to lift the calculation points off the floor. So that's I mean, basically, we're kind of looking at a typical classroom of sorts, aren't we? So next thing to do is number 4. So we've sort of gone through the full range now, haven't we? Prep it, display it, make a grid on it. Now we're going to go to calc it. And the way you calc it is just wants a few inputs. The radiance file, not surprisingly, it wants the grid specification, and all the rest are kind of on defaults, but you can change them. But the one that you must choose yourself is the EPW file address. That is the energy plus weather file address. So I might have touched on it before, but when you're running a climate-based daylight model in calc, they are location dependent. This makes the calculation so much more meaningful rather than a generic sky that is the same wherever you are in the world. This will be sort of, if you're in London, there is a specific file. If you are in Birmingham, it's always overcast. Only joking. It's different to London, if and so forth. So I'm from Birmingham originally, so I can make that joke. But the way where you get your energy plus weather files from is, best thing to do is you can get proper CBDM weather files. Atkins has those. The guy who was managing them transferred to Faithful and Gould, and at the time of me recording this, I don't know who has ownership of the CBDM energy plus weather files. But what I'm going to show you in the interim is, if you just go to if you just go to Google. And you go to, and if you just put in energy plus EPW weather file, yeah, and you just go to weather data, energy plus, and let's go to Europe, and let's go to I know they always, oh yeah, here it is. Okay, and let's do Birmingham. And what you want is you don't want design day or the stats file. You want the energy plus weather file. Yeah, you want the reference year data. So I'm just going to save that on my desktop. It's usually my dumping ground. All right, so now if I go to path, so this is a native Dynamo node, path, and I say take me to the desktop. There it is. See, when you they're always IWECs if you get them from Energy Plus. I stress again, try to get the CBDM weather data. Those are the ones that I always use, but like I say, I just don't know who the Atkins custodian is at the moment. So now we have the weather data for like, you know, the light that's going to come from the sky. We have the radiance geometry file. We have the grid details, and we can actually just run that calc. And if I type in Boolean, let's leave that on false. I'm going to put it into draft calc mode, and I'll tell you what that means in a moment. But it's just so like it turns like a 2-minute calc into a 30-second calc. Yeah, so it's useful just to sort of like, you know, flush your calc through and just check everything's passes the common sense rule. So when you run it now, this is radians running, yeah. And what I've done here is I've set it up so it runs like it's basically running a daylight calc and a sunlight calc, and it's doing them at the same time. Uh, so rather than doing one then doing the next, it's doing everything at the same time to make it make it a bit quicker for you. This one in the background, this is like the director script that basically it says nothing happens till all the black windows have closed. Otherwise, you're going to get weird things happening. It also does the daylight factor calc. I forgot to click that on actually, but I'll show you in a minute. You'd only ever do the daylight factor calc in this package if you were doing like a BREEAM calc. Okay, so we've run the calc and it's just processed all the data. Right, and you see like daylight factor calc was set to false, so we're not going to get any data out of him. But what I want to show you is what's just happened, because client-based data modeling calcs, they kind of come in two stages. One where you just sort of you literally just calculate like for every single point here, it's done almost 9,000. It's produced almost 9,000 values every hour of the year for every color channel. And the result is here, there's probably floating about on your drive somewhere like 2 million values. And it's obviously it's just not meaningful data just as numbers, but I can even show you this because I reformatted all this, so we had some like legacy scripts, so they're still going to run. Helpful, open the file or folder. Right, so if I just open that and now take a look at this, look, well, basically see that 1 1 half, that is month 1, day 1, hour first. I don't know why it doesn't start at like just like 0, but halfway through the first hour, yeah. So then and then like if I just scroll down to anything, month 3, day 5, hour 1.5. See how they're all zeros here? Why is that? Because we're in June, it's 10:30 at night, there is no light. We're in June, it's 4:30 in the morning, there's no light. We're in June, the 5th, am I saying June? We're in March, sorry. We're in March, 5th of March, 7:30, the sun has come up, yeah? And can you see how these numbers are getting higher as the sun is getting higher and higher? And um, yeah, so I mean, I guess it's going to peak sort of around here midday, isn't it? So 12:30, 1:30, 2:30, it's at its brightest, and then the sun has set. And if I move down, can you see how these these lit times are getting brighter and brighter and brighter? So and now we're into what's that? August the 20th, 6:30 in the morning, and all the way down to, look at all this data, wow, all the way down to the end of the year, the 12th, the 31st, and you know we're all getting the champagne ready for sort of New Year's hour, yeah. So it's like an entire year of data. That is what it's calculated for you, yeah. And that's why we need to pass it into further nodes to actually get all that data and compress it into something manageable, right? What else comes out the other side as well is, and you just plug this into other nodes. You don't need to sort of like remember this or do stuff with this, but did I just calc parameters? Let me try that again. Why did that not open? All right, let me. Yeah, sometimes you have to just refresh stuff in Dynamo. It's almost like you just have to sort of kill the original one and just put a fresh one in. It's not a valid. Sorry, user error. User error. No, it's not open. Sorry, it's not a file. It's like data. I'm so quick to rubbish Dynamo sometimes. It's not a file. It's actual data. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So basically, and this is just giving me some details. Yeah, we calculated in London. We bounced the light 3 times. That's not a lot for the record. We kind of we We calculated absolute values. We did not we used interpolation at less than 10 centimeters. We definitely calculated a value for every half meter. These are the arguments. These mean something to me. And we carved the sky dome up. This much again, this means something to me, but it's just useful information to have on it. And I can, if you're unsure of a result, I can look at that and I can say, as far as the computer's concerned, you're good, and we can send that to our clients. So that's what comes out one side. The sunlight file is it's like exactly the same stuff. Open file or folder. The sunlight one is exactly the same as the daylight one. The difference is, can you see how it's like less data? Have I got another one here? Node output, open. I've probably just used that again, actually. Yeah. All right. Sunlight and right. You'll see how these are pretty much the same, but the daylight one. Can you see how the daylight one is giving more light than the sunlight one? Because this is the like daylight, the sort of the cloudy sky and the sunlight. This is only the sunlight. So the main reason I put this in it is because it's a requirement for lead calculation. So if they ever crop up, but you can do a few other bits and pieces with this. The like with like glare and stuff like that, it's questionable how useful it is, but you can it's better than nothing. It's better than nothing. So that's what these two are. And you sort of, like you're running, you've got four. Generally, you're going to have four cores on your computer. You're running one calc, you might as well just run the other, and you got daylight factor there as well. Okay. Over on this side, you have there's a few like sort of useful functions. What are they? I forget what they are these days. Calc accuracy. Just don't touch this. Yeah, it's like you could make the calculation less accurate to speed it up, but if you start messing about with this kind of stuff, it's like I checked it and it is good to this accuracy. That's what I've done on my validation against, and if you change it, well, then you're on your own. You might want to do a draft calc with it, or you might know your stuff and change it, but I wouldn't touch that. Check the calc spec. This is like Pandora's box. Oh, this is what this does is yeah, if you basically when it starts the calc, it opens up some of these functions here. If you wanted to change these, yeah, well it's the same as the calc accuracy. Personally, I would just let it be. Um, there was a valid reason for it in a previous with the kind of the first version of this, but you got the draft calc mode now, so I don't really think you need that. Pause calc at the end. That's if this is more for like error for like debugging. If you were to run that every time the black box flashes up, it's doing a process and it pauses it. So here it's converted the weather file. Here it's just made something called an octree. Here it has checked the maximum dimensions of your file so it can work out the accuracy settings. Yeah, and then off it goes. So it's again, you don't really need that. It's for debugging. This is if you want to switch on or off the annual daylight. If you want to switch on or off the daylight factor. If you want to switch on or off the sunlight. Daylight factor calc sits on like a kind of legacy script that's a bit slower, which is why I've set it to defaults, and because, as I said before, if you're interested in daylight factor, I would just use Relux. It's a well-refined package. Show or inputs is I think this was more for my own sanity, but if you click this to yes, it will not run a calculation. It will show you everything that you have fed into the calculation file. That is wrong. Oh, yeah. Right. So this is so it hasn't run a calc. It said, look, number one is number one. So number one is, did I put the right data into there? Yes, I did. Number two should be the radiance file. Did I put it in? Yes, I did. Because it can get a bit confusing, you know, when you're trying to like, you sort of say, oh, where did that wire well, I set it up in a way to make it easy for you, but sometimes it's like, the files. Imagine if that tapered off over there, and you're like, right, where is that going? And it's so I kind of set it up like that. Draft calc mode I've just shown you. So that's you don't submit to your client the draft calc. You just like run it through. It's a nice quick calc, and out the side it other goes. But when you're ready to do your proper one, hit calc. With a denser grid, that's going to be like a 3 to 5 minute calculation. So, but like you saw how quick the draft mode was. That's why it's in there. So that is the sort of the first stage of the calculations in CBDM tools.